So Max Holloway is in the best position of any UFC fighter under the roster, and nobody can convince me otherwise. We're gonna go through that, and it involves Nate Diaz calling out Max Holloway, wanting the belt that he lost in the inaugural BMF belt title fight against Corey Marshall, whatever we're gonna call it now. I know a lot of people are not a fan of the BMF belt, but the BMF belt, especially moving into Netflix, will be really, really crucial for the UFC, developing talent, making your stars superstars, which is exactly what they do with Max Holloway here. So we're gonna get into all of that. Now, I am not on the wrong, or not on the right thing here. It's all stemming from this ex tweet, whatever we call him now. Um, Nate Diaz posted a picture of Max Holloway with the BML belt. Said, "This guy's cool, but he keeps wearing my belt." Angry face. Gotta remember the angry face, man. That just adds extra character here. How am I not following any of these? Then again, I don't use X for whatever. Um, man, dude. Okay, so we get it that Nate Diaz has been out of the UFC for what, 2, 3-ish years. But remember, when Nate Diaz left the UFC, he lost to Leon Edwards, but he nearly knocked him out at the end of the fight. And if he did that, well, Leon Edwards went on to beat Kamal Wilson twice, won the belt. But again, that's the Nate Diaz, that's the Diaz brothers' selling point, right? Where it's a war every minute of the fight, any moment they can get you out of there. He had the infamous point, but he went on to fight Tony Ferguson after they tried feeding him the Hamza Chimaev on that carpet. Conveniently, Hamza Chimaev misses weight and fights Kevin Owens. So he goes out after submitting Tony Ferguson in the fourth round. It was a good fight. Honestly, of all the Tony Ferguson fights after the Gaethje fight, it was one of the best ones. But yeah, it's still painful. Then he went over in 2023 and boxed Jake Paul. Jake Paul outboxed him, but he went over there and he made a shitload of money, which is the number one goal of the fight game, right? Then he had the boxing match with Jorge Masvidal last year in July. Won a majority decision. I thought that Masvidal won this fight, but I mean, hey, he walked away at 1-1, I guess. But the main thing that you are getting with Nate Diaz, and why it makes sense for Max Holloway, is you are going to get, well, what do you have here? You have a legend of the sport. There's no other way of saying it. Fought in WEC, fought on the Ultimate Fighter, was in the Quick Guida, had a ridiculous run to start his career, um, and fought, where is it, Benson Henderson for the belt, beat Cowboy Cerrone, Jim Miller, like all of these, big names of the past. Nate Diaz has been in there with him. And then you had UFC 196, where he called out Conor McGregor for taking everything he worked for, and he went out there, submitted him in the second round. I thought he won the second fight, but again, Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz are exactly what Max Holloway is now. fighters who do not need the belt to be successful. They don't need the title to, be a name. You can throw these guys on any card and it's gonna sell out. And then obviously, as he said in the tweet over here, you got the inaugural BMF belt, where he lost due to a doctor's stoppage. He was cut up bad, but we know Nate Diaz. We know he gets cut easily during the fights. And we know that the later rounds favor him. So it would have been interesting if that fight won 5 rounds. But now he sees Max Holloway, right? Where Max Holloway just beat Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway was just in there with Ilya Topuria, who is the biggest star in the sport right now. He KO'd Gaethje in the last second. So if you want to look at it this way, ever since moving to 155, he's 2-0. Yeah, he lost to Poirier in the second fight, but this is a new version of Max. Beat Arnold Allen. These Volkanovski fights are close. Rodriguez, Tater, Frankie Edgar, all of these names, the Jose Aldo fights, they are in the same position as one another. Well, with different variables. Like Max Holloway won the belt. Max Holloway's one of the greatest in featherweight history. A fight with Nate Diaz. We all know it'd sell. But again, it would be a chance for him to add on another major name to his legacy, which is what I think his lightweight run should do. I think they should do the exact fucking opposite that they did with Jose Aldo. And I use Jose Aldo because of the connection there. Where you have Max Holloway going up to 155. I only want to see him in fights that benefit his legacy. I think a Dan Hooker fight makes a lot of sense. I think the Oliveira rematch needs to happen before Oliveira retires. Fights like that. And Nate Diaz is exactly what those fights are. Legends, big names. Max Holloway can go in there. Like this version of Max, I think, runs through this version of Nate Diaz. We haven't seen Nate in a few years, right? Well, I guess a year. But with Max, it just gives him the ultimate leverage of being, you know what? I'm a big name. I got the BMF belt. I am guaranteed a co-main event at worst. And that is the big thing with the BMF belt. That's what a lot of the casual fans don't see, and even the hardcore. I don't like the way the belt works. I think they could have done much more with it. But again, it's the stand and bang title. It's a title that we can throw out there on any card, and it's going to sell when we have two guys who are big names that will go in there and just trade shots with one another. Who else but Max Holloway does it fit more? Like, it kind of fit Jorge Masvidal, and again with the gimmick with the Ben Askren knockout and that. Max Holloway embodies that belt. Max Holloway is the guy who has been at the top his entire career. His entire career, he has been a number one, number two guy in his division. And he went out there and avenged, his two biggest losses. These two, like, A champion needs to fight whoever the UFC gives them. And now the way they do that, we obviously know it's who's the name, what have they done, what's that ranking beside the name, which rankings never matter. And you need to basically solve your problem of getting a marketable guy up against your champion, regardless how marketable he is, and then hope that the outcome of this fight either builds your champion or gives you a brand new champion that has more to build off of. Like, I feel everybody acknowledges what this business is. But with the BMF belt, when a fighter loses it, they're losing to another big name, right? Max Dustin. Dustin lost to Max. I know he retired, but if he was continuing with his um, career, losing to a guy who's already an established legend who is on a really good run himself only benefits those two fighters. It only made those first two fights even better wins for Dustin Poirier, right? And then Max Holloway, his end goal should be, I want to win the 155 title. But I have this luxury where I can basically call out my shots. I can go in there against whoever I want, and he can basically build his own run to the title. It's a bit like the Intercontinental belt in the WWE, right? Where it's the mid card title, they give it to the guy who, you know, we're not going to give him the big belt, yeah, but we want to see what they can do with it. We want to see how much, hype they can garner, and can they bring that into a fight against a champion? That is what this BMF belt is. And the good thing about this is that the champion he's going after is the champion he lost to. The only guy to knock him out after he weight deflated down to 145. Now he's in 155, or, Max Holloway is Uber Max Holloway. He is massive. I don't think he can ever make 145 pounds again in his life. Um, But dude, it does not get better than this. So what? Worst case scenario, he's fighting I would say absolute worst scenario. He's fighting Dan Hooker, which looks a banger fight, a really good name, a guy who has been in the top five for years, and I think he beats Dan Hooker. He already beat Gaethje. I don't think they would give him R1, but again, it's any fight that he is in is going to get hundreds of thousands, of pay-per-views, millions of views on social media and everything. It does not get better than this. It does not get better than having this tool that lets you only have stand and bang fights. Now you can say, well, what about the grappling? If there's not texted in with grappling, Max Holloway has been in this for years. Max Holloway has good takedown defense. Um, Good enough to stop Armand? Probably not. Probably not. But I think you can knock Armand out. But again, like, this is incredible. This is incredible that a guy who won the belt so young, who came in at 18 years old, had his prime already. His prime was him being a champion. And now I guess he's technically in his prime. I think he's 33, early 30s. And now he's in a position where he's only going to fight the biggest stars in the sport. That is the only options with him. But let me know, what do you think about Nate Diaz calling out Max Holloway for the BMF belt, wanting to claim it? Would you do that fight? Do you think it makes sense? Or would you want to see Max Holloway say fight Dan Hooker, a guy in the rankings, and properly earn the belt? But again, the rankings don't fucking matter anymore. Who makes them? The MMA media? The same media that I've made numerous videos about the prefect press conferences and all of the deep analytical questions they answer. I'm just shitting on them, but let me know what you think down below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support lately too. It really means a lot. Yeah, later.